It's October, the spooky month, and there is an absolute panoply of relevant, unsettling, and popular anime just chomping at the bit to scare our socks off. Let's talk about Food Wars. Today's video was brought to you by Surfshark. Terrifying monsters from the darkest corners of the internet are trying to steal your personal information. Hide your vulnerable human self under the warm blanket of nigh impenetrable VPN security by getting 83% off a 2-year plan and 3 additional months totally free at surfshark.deals/explanation point using promo code explanation point. Link in the description. Now on to this. Food Wars is a non-battle battle series. It is a shonen that knowingly shines a light on the more ridiculous elements of every teenage boy's favorite genre of Japanese cartoons. I have been told to watch it many a time, and honestly I was not all that impressed. Surprise, surprise, the pointing man hates fun. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched 2 seasons of Food Wars and I had a blast, but that's because I watched them with friends and we made so many snarky comments that I may as well have been watching Food Wars abridged. Food Wars on its own merits doesn't really work as a shonen, and I think it's interesting to get into why that is. I understand that Food Wars is not trying to be high art in its genre. It doesn't take itself all that seriously, its characters are tropey, and its plot points ridiculous, and the structure of its society so flimsy that its foundation would fall apart if you blew on it gently before taking a bite. But Food Wars is not a parody. It's not a joke, it's not a deconstruction, it's not even cheaply made seasonal crap designed to sell Funko Pops. It is seemingly a passion project being worked on by people who care about making a good product, and this video is not about whether or not they succeed. I don't care if Food Wars is a hashtag good show. I don't care if people like it. I don't care if people get off to it. I don't care if people think it's well produced. You should see this video as an analysis of the shonen formula through the lens of Food Wars, and a rundown of some parts of that formula that Food Wars doesn't really deliver on. Because understanding how things go wrong is a necessary tool for understanding how to keep them going right. The battle system in the series is the obvious place to start. For what is shonen without some good fight scenes, and what is Food Wars without its eponymous Food Wars? The epitome of shonen anime is the ragtag group of charming teenagers with weird hair fighting high-stakes battles against objectively evil foes for the sake of saving the world, growing as people, and strengthening their bonds of friendship. And the essence of a significant shonen battle can be broken down into a few steps. First, you establish the stakes. Do you get it? Do you get my joke about the stakes? This is usually done long before the battle starts. When Midoriya fights Todoroki in the sports festival, Midoriya is fighting for pride and symbolism, and Todoroki is fighting for his sense of self. When Rock Lee fights Gaara in the Chunin exams, Lee is fighting to prove that he can, and Gaara is fighting to become a Chunin. When Edward fights Father, it's for the sake of saving the world and himself. Every fight in a shonen anime can be seen as a test. It's a test to see if our characters have learned the lessons that they were intended to learn. Winning the fight means that they are free to progress and learn the next thing. Losing the fight means that they have not learned enough, or they have learned the wrong thing, and they must live with the consequences of that failure. Knowing the implications of success and failure is what allows confrontation in a shonen anime to have any kind of weight, and this is the first reason why Food Wars tend to go cold. When Soma Yukihira fights a food war, what is at stake? Do you get it? Do you get my joke about the stakes? Why, expulsion, of course! You will be expelled, Soma Yukihira, and you will never work as a chef again! Or worse, your girlfriend will be expelled, or your dog! Now those are some pretty high stakes, do you get it? Do you get my joke about the stakes? So high, in fact, that they are not stakes at all. If Soma loses a food war, what happens? Well, he's expelled me! No. The show ends. He's our main character. This is the story of him going through this ridiculous and poorly structured school. If Soma cannot go to school, there is no show. I know there is more show, therefore Soma must be able to continue going to this ludicrously inefficient academic institution, and therefore I know he wins. Or I at least know that his failure is mitigated or nullified by some outside party. Threatening to expel Soma is as good as threatening nothing at all because of dramatic irony, the idea that a viewer can know things that the character don't know. Soma and Megami and the rest are terrified of the idea of expulsion, as they should be, but the viewer gets to sit in calm, assured safety, knowing that expulsion is narratively impossible. The series does seem to recognize early on that it has a problem with escalation, but it misidentifies what that problem is. It thinks that it's written itself into a corner by threatening expulsion too early. Because how do you raise tension after that? The stakes are already as high as they can go, aren't they? But its solution is to make the stakes even higher, to threaten to expel Soma and make him promise never to cook again. At least the threat of expulsion left open the unlikely, if awesome, possibility that Soma would continue to try to become the world's greatest chef without the help of a Totsuki pedigree. But taking away even that potential future for the series just solidifies that there is no chance Soma will ever lose a battle of any importance. He's untouchable like a burger-flipping Kirito, because the construction of the narrative ensures that it must be so. Especially early on in a series, it's often better to keep the stakes low, and that's for the same reason I mentioned earlier. Battles are tests of character growth. If a negative result on such a test would impede character growth, i.e. through death or expulsion, then we know that the positive result is all but assured. This is part of what makes tournament arcs so exciting, what makes us chomp our popcorn and scoot as close up to the TV as we possibly can. Guys, come quick, the main character can lose! Fighting for pride, fighting for friendship, fighting for the life of a character who's major enough to care about, but minor enough that the series could go on without him. All of these, paradoxically, create more tension in the viewer than when the main character is fighting for the right to continue their story. There is a second part of establishing the stakes of a fight that Food Wars actually does pretty well, the conflict of ideologies. Anime gets made fun of a lot for having characters recite Socratic dialogues in the middle of a death match, but knowing what each participant in a fight stands for is important for identifying the themes of a series and appreciating a conflict on a more personal level. Every character in Food Wars has their own personal code. Anyone can cook. No one can cook. Anyone can cook with meat. Anyone can cook with lasers. These aren't deep philosophies, but that's not a problem. We know what kind of future awaits this society if any of these individuals have their say in it, and that's perfect. When Soma and Alice face off, it's not just a fight between them, it's a fight between artistry and science. When Megumi fights Shino, it's a fight between accessibility and elitism. This lets the viewer put these characters into a broader social context, making the fight bigger than the individual fighters. But the biggest problem with Food Wars and its Food Wars is that the structure of its fight scenes inhibits any kind of back and forth between the fighters. Unless you are a professional chef, and likely even if you are a professional chef, you have no way of following what's happening during a food war. Until the food is finished, there is no real way for one contender to get an edge on another during a battle. It's hard to create a situation where it looks like Soma's gonna win, but now it's Meat and now it's Soma again, and that's because these people aren't really interacting with each other. They're each doing their own things and waiting till the end to see which one of them does it better. And because there's no interplay and no real way of knowing who's coming out ahead while the battle is happening, a food war is effectively just the culinary equivalent of screaming about power levels and charging up super attacks for 15 minutes until one side wakes up dead. In a good shonen fight scene, the fighters take turns getting the upper hand on each other, and the viewer always knows who's winning. In a food war, the viewer only knows who won. Food wars can be a real fun time, and there is nothing wrong with powering through a season or two with a couple of friends and some gourmet popcorn. But that in no way means it's a flawless example of animated gastronomy. Recognizing and learning from mistakes is important, especially in the things that we enjoy. In a way, that's the essence of the shonen spirit, seeing what's been done wrong and striving to correct it in the future. So whether you want to threaten my livelihood because I spoke ill of your favorite raunchy shonen, or you want to thank me for opening your eyes to the beauty of a well-constructed brawl between teenage boys, Soma and I just have one thing to say to you. You're welcome! Today's video was brought to you by Surfshark, one of the internet's best VPNs. Keep your online dealings hidden from the ghosts and ghouls of the internet with 83% off a 2-year plan and 3 additional months totally free at surfshark.deals/explanation point using promo code explanation point. As a professional online dude, knowing that data miners and hackers and the like have to penetrate Surfshark's thick shield of online privacy before they can get to my juicy personal data gives me a lot of peace of mind. Not to mention how nice it is to be able to watch any anime I like from anywhere in the world, regardless of how many arbitrary region locks that companies I won't name here, like Netflix, like to put on them. With a built-in ad blocker and a 30-day money-back guarantee, Surfshark is the ideal VPN for browsing the internet with privacy. Surfshark.deals/explanation point, promo code explanation point. 83% off a 2-year plan, 3 free months, link in the description. Patrons, these are mine. Look upon these names, without whom your pointing animation man would not be making the content. content. Look specifically upon the name of Vincent Delorme, or Delorme, or Vincent, or something like that, who has been supporting this channel for 33 months at the $1 tier and whose support has certainly not gone unnoticed. Thank you, Vincent, today's lucky patron. Thank you, all the Patreon peoples who enjoy such benefits as reading my notes and scripts, access to unreleased videos, having their stuff criticized and reworked in private lessons with me, and hanging out at our weekly game nights. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. And until next time, this has been Explanation Point, signing out.